I recently decided to sell my Cartier just on clearing, so I took some time to put together everything that came with the purchase. And guess what? As I was going through the receipts for my luxury pieces, I found the receipt for the Celine Nano luggage tote. Honestly, I was both speechless and devastated because this little piece of paper has literally cost me over £1,000. Now, I sold this Celine Nano bag about 5 years ago. It was way before I had this channel, but the selling process was anything but straightforward. Basically, I bought this bag completely on impulse. I actually wanted one in the black color, but it was always sold out. Then one day, I came across this bag in a bright red color. It was beautiful, but deep down, I knew red was never a color I enjoyed wearing. Anyway, long story short, I caved into my own FOMO and I bought the bag. Unsurprisingly, I hardly ever wore the bag, and it basically sat in my closet for 2 years before I decided to sell it. Now, I'm usually very organized with my paperwork, but I couldn't for the life of me find the proof of purchase for this Celine Nano bag. Nevertheless, I thought, surely I would get a good offer seeing this bag was in pristine condition. I then started doing some research about where to sell the bag, and I decided to go for Vestiaire Collective because I came across some good reviews from a few YouTubers. So I posted some pictures on the website, waited for Vestiaire Collective to approve the item, got a buyer and sent the bag. Lo and behold, a few days later, Vestiaire Collective got in touch with me to say they couldn't authenticate the bag without a receipt. Now, this really took me by surprise because honestly, I didn't even worry about that for a second because the bag was authentic. Anyway, they gave me two options. So I could either pay them £12 for them to return the bag to me, or they would go ahead and dispose of my Celine bag. I usually try to see the pros and cons in every situation. So I guess in this case, Vestiaire Collective was just trying to provide a very thorough service. I mean, as a consignment business, they of course need to make sure their customers are protected. But it was quite frustrating for me. I really beat myself up for a long time for misplacing this receipt. Anyway, a few months later, I contacted another consignment service, and this time I went for We Buy Designer. Even though the bag was in excellent condition, without a receipt, they said they could only offer me about £700. Bear in mind, I bought this bag for $2,300, so it was a huge loss for me. But after all the drama, I just really wanted to let the bag go and have some kind of closure. Even when the Celine bag was long gone, I would still occasionally wonder how had the receipt mysteriously disappeared. Well, it turned out it was there all along. It just slipped through the cracks for whatever reason. And you know what? The climax of the story is I bought the Celine bag at £2,300 in a color that I didn't really want. But now the very same bag in my favorite black color is readily available on the Celine website for £1,750. Yes, we're talking about the very same bag and for £500 cheaper. Talk about irony. Now, I know there's no way any of us could ever predict the future, and there's no point in ruminating the past, but I just hope my story would shed some light on why we should never purchase anything just because of the fear of missing out. This video is not meant to review Vestiaire Collective, but I did also sell my Dior Promenade flap using Vestiaire Collective. Spoiler alert, it was another annoying experience for me. So this Dior bag was again in pristine condition, and this time I had everything, including the proof of purchase, authenticity card, paper bag, and so on. But when Vestiaire Collective received the bag, they said there was a discrepancy in the measurements I provided, and we're talking about a centimeter. Anyway, they suggested I could either give the buyer a discount or they would cancel the transaction. I did offer a discount, but the buyer decided to pull out. To To be honest, I had no one to blame but myself and my less than ideal measurements. So if you're thinking to sell on Vestiaire Collective, make sure you get your measurements right because you'll be doing a lot of the work yourself, including taking pictures and writing descriptions. Anyway, I released the Dior bag and eventually it sold after 9 months. Again, it was quite frustrating for me as a seller, but I guess if you're considering to buy from Vestiaire Collective, then it's quite reassuring to know that they are so detailed and meticulous with their inspection, especially if the item is fairly expensive. Personally, I think it can take a long time to sell on Vestiaire Collective because it is an international service, so anyone can make a listing. So to compete for eyeballs, your photos and descriptions will have to really stand out. For me, it feels like I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting while still having to pay for sale commissions. So now I mainly use Vestiaire Collective to sell pieces which are not in high demand, just so I can benefit from their huge customer base. As for the higher price range pieces, I now try to sell them myself or use a consignment service that will take care of everything. Before having this channel, I sold several luxury handbags using a website called NPN Handbags. The owner, Celine, lives not too far away from me, so it was really handy for me to drop by her house with anything I wanted to sell, and I didn't have to worry about anything because Celine did all the heavy lifting. If you have a look at her website, she has the clearest pictures and the most detailed descriptions. I actually sold my Louis Vuitton Montaigne MM in the empreinte leather and 3 Chanel handbags using her service. Now, it is a small business, so she doesn't have a huge selection of luxury items on her website, but the service I received was amazing. In terms of jewelry, I recently sold my Cartier Jason ring to Hatton Jewels, which is a jewelry store in London. This is not a consignment service. Instead, they buy your pieces outright, which I sometimes prefer. The process was really easy, so I uploaded a few pictures. They then gave me an estimated offer and paid for the shipping and insurance. The next day, the ring got there safely and they gave me the final offer. The service was so professional and it was absolutely effortless to sell the ring, so I highly recommend them. Now, if you are looking to sell your jewelry pieces, I think it's always better to go for a service that specializes in jewelry. In my experience, the offers tend to be a lot higher. In the last few years, I've been doing a lot of the selling myself whenever I want to downsize. I'm very lucky that I have a small following and an audience who are very like-minded. So far, everyone I've come across has been very kind, genuine and patient, so I'm very thankful for that. So for the most part, my selling experience has generally been quite positive. Although every time I sell something, it still stresses me out a lot. So if you ask me, I think the answer is always to buy very intentionally instead of using selling as an excuse for irrational purchases. I really hope this video is helpful. I've been getting a lot of questions about where I sell my luxury pieces, so I thought I'll just make a video for you guys. If you're new here, my name is Eileen. On this channel, we're all about enjoying nice things but also being smart with money. So if you're interested in luxury minimalism and intentional living, consider joining our lovely community. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Until next week, take care and have a nice day.